When Americans are ready to get rid of a car or a laptop or some of their clothes, where do those goods go? Well, most end up in countries in the global south, where millions of people depend on repairing, dismantling, or selling them to make a living. But now, amid lax regulations and legal loopholes, environmental groups say the business is a toxic trifecta of waste that inflicts catastrophic damage to land, coastlines, and public health. Fred de Sam Lazaro has the first of two reports from the West African nation of Ghana, produced in partnership with the Pulitzer Center.
Ghana has enjoyed economic growth in recent years, and nowhere is that more evident than on Accra's streets, where growing incomes have spiked the demand for automobiles. Like cities anywhere, traffic delays are part of daily life, but here they are costly not just in time, but health and safety and the environment.
The cars that clog the streets of Ghana's capital have come a long way to be here, but they didn't come directly from a factory. Instead, most have had long lives on the streets of America, Germany, Dubai, and many other places before being shipped here. Long lives, that is, unless they were in an accident.
We changed the tank too.
That's how this 2018 Toyota sedan wound up in a repair yard.
This came from the United States.
Northern Virginia, in fact. We traced it back to a listing on an auction website where it was sold along with millions of used cars across a range of conditions shipped to Africa each year.
Some of them don't even make it onto the boat. They need to be pushed on.
Kenya-based Rob de Jong with the United Nations Environment Program has studied the global trade in used cars.
So would you say that most vehicles would not be certified as safe on the roads of countries where they came from?
Exporting countries export majority of vehicles that are not roadworthy.
Not roadworthy.
Not roadworthy.
At the repair shop, mechanic Solomon Ativi says how much the Corolla is repaired is informed by the new owner's budget.
So the side airbag has deployed and burst the seat open.
Just the driver's side airbag would be replaced, he told me, not the side and passenger ones. Many of the repaired vehicles hit the road less safe and more polluting, often arriving minus their catalytic converter, a device required in developed countries since the 1970s and key to cleaner emissions. There's a robust global market for them because they contain platinum.
My name is Alex Nyako.
We talked to a trio of mechanics in Accra's auto repair district.
Catalytic converters, you usually don't fix it.
If the person don't have money, you fix it. But if the money is there, you fix it.
How many people fix it and how many don't?
A reaction that suggested most missing converters are not replaced.
It will be on the financial problem.
Financial problem.
Yeah.
So most people will just let it go.
Yes.
Extending the life of cars that should really have been recycled in America or Europe.
A vehicle in Europe is recycled for 98% of its parts. So it's a very good circular approach. However, they're now more and more just sent to Africa because it's cheaper than to properly recycle them.
At the other end of their useful life here, the junk cars compound the crisis from another toxic import, electronic waste.
Which they take from vehicles, cars.
Every day, scrap workers harvest components from cars and all manner of electronics. They're looking in particular for metals, which are extracted mainly by incineration.
This is the epicenter of Ghana's imported waste industry. Thousands of tons of used washers and dryers, refrigerators, computer hardware, and air conditioners sit here awaiting demolition by people looking for anything of value inside them.
Everything here is basically enveloped in toxic fuels.
I came here with Mike Anane, who we hired as a consultant for this report. He's a veteran environmental journalist who's worked for the group Greenpeace.
We're talking about mercury. All the toxic heavy metals that you can find in electronic waste are here. They're right in the soil, they're in the smoke, we're breathing it.
An international agreement intended to prohibit the export of electronic waste went into effect in 1992. The U.S. did not ratify this Basel Convention, but even in countries that did, there's a huge loophole. Items classified as repairable often labeled as charity, are exempt.
When you examine these items that are coming here, they are either obsolete and simply would not work.
Critics argue these so-called donations are causing more issues than they are solving. Before we were shooed away by a supervisor, we talked with young men who work here, some without even gloves, sifting dirt to separate and salvage small scraps of metal.
How much do you earn here?
50 cities.
That's about $3 a day. 14-year-old Jefferson Phillip told us he works here after school to help pay his school fees.
What's your favorite subject?
Mathematics.
Mathematics. What would you like to be when you grow up?
Doctor.
A doctor.
High aspiration, but if his path is like so many men here, it may not take him far, literally.
This is petrol.
Like Jefferson, Muhammad Awal came here when he was 14 from the country's unsettled north in search of work after his father died.
15 years ago, this is my work I'm doing.
15 years.
Yes, to support my family.
He works 6 days a week, he says, to support his wife and 4 children.
What would you like to do in your future?
My future, I want to stop this work. I want to travel to Europe and work and save my family because I want to look my children to take education.
There are around 20 million people in the world making their livelihoods off waste.
University of California, Berkeley professor Kate O'Neill is the author of 3 books about the recycling industry.
Those people can't be just tossed off their jobs. You've got to kind of create jobs, create markets, create ways in which we move from a waste economy to a repair economy, a repair and reuse economy, and that can be global.
Already in many developing countries, she says, second-hand and refurbished electronics and appliances have thriving markets. But, she says, increasingly a lot of junk is sent here, hardware that, by design, has become difficult to dismantle and recycle, making it cheaper to send overseas, often disguised as a charitable donation.
I remember back when I had my first computers, they came with manuals. The way the industry is structured right now is what's called planned obsolescence, to make sure we buy a new one every 2 years. So I think part of the problem is what we have can't easily be recycled or refurbished.
They need to bear some responsibility.
More immediately, exporting countries need to step up their oversight of what leaves their shores, says Larry Katoy of Ghana's Environmental Protection Agency.
Developed countries need to do more within their own jurisdiction when it comes to exports of some of these items. They have, I would say, enough resources to be able to tell which items are actually junk and which ones are not compared to us.
An admonition we also heard on the street, loudly and clearly, despite a language barrier, when a nearby merchant, Yakubu Salifu, interrupted our interview with Muhammad Awal.
You know, you peoples, Africa no create copper, Africa no create rubber, Africa no create car, you know create tie, car tie. Then you come and take my video, you say we Africa, we the ben.
So what he's saying is that it is the white people who are bringing all the garbage, all the junk, all the electronic waste here. And then we are burning. And after burning, you ask for these things to be sent to you.
Much of the waste material here comes from Europe and the US, though the copper or aluminum that's extracted is usually destined for China and India. The detritus, people here complain, leaches or is washed into the lagoons and drains that drain into the Atlantic Ocean, only to be washed back onto beaches, mixing with a different kind of waste. It starts in the reject pile from thrift stores in wealthy countries. We'll have that story in the second part of our series. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred de Sam Lazaro in Accra, Ghana.
Fred's reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.